Yeah, we have a really good turnout today. Very excited. So we'll go ahead and get started here. So hey guys, how's it going? So my name is Joel Lapsher. I'm the president of the Gator Bitcoin Club. I'm joined here today by our treasurer, Nathan, some of our executive board members, and Antonio, where you at? I'm here. All right. Vice President right there.
Hey, for clarification, it's Fred over here and Kylan, just in case you weren't sure who's who.
All right, awesome. So I'm reading off some intros. I know Brett a little bit. We've talked before by Kylan. This is the first time we meet. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Yeah, you got it right. A lot of people get it wrong, but you got it right. So I guess you want an introduction from me, right?
Well, I'll read what I have, and then we'll hear what you have to say after. Okay. So everyone, Kylan is a civil engineer from the University of Southern California. He's had several web developer roles, one at Z Global Media, where he led the development team and creation and modification of websites for multiple clients. He was also a web developer for Knowledge City, which is an online video training company. He served as the front-end web developer at Intuit before joining AirBitz as a software engineer. It's right there. He does web and mobile application development for blockchain technology, security, and authentication. And I'm sure we'll get to hear more about your role and AirBitz in a little bit. We'll introduce here Brett. Brett is a graduate of the University of Florida. Go Gators.
Woo!
He got his Bachelor of Science in Finance and was also part of the MSF program at the Huff Graduate School of Business. He was an asset manager at Morgan Stanley. He also did some investment banking stuff in the energy sector. And right now he is a paradigm shifter at AirBitz. I think right here we have non-technical utility man, whatever that entails.
Came up with that one himself.
Definitely.
Awesome. So that's the interest that we have. But Kylan and Brett, if you guys want to add to that, that'd be great.
No, I think you pretty much got it. I don't know when Brett got into it, but I first started getting into cryptocurrency about 2012, the middle of 2012. So as you can see, I've been doing I write a lot of code, but then about 6 or 7 months ago, I started working for AirBitz. And at that point, I professionally entered the industry. What about you, Brett?
Yeah, I knew about it back then, but definitely coming from a non-technical background, didn't know much about it. But it intrigued me from a socioeconomic perspective, and I eventually, some lights went on in my head in 2015, bought my first Bitcoin and kind of forced my way into AirBitz and didn't let them get rid of me. They have
really strict, employment laws. We've tried, but
yeah, I still won't leave. And I try to add value every day, any way I can, kind of creatively on the business side, helping Paul with content or what is it called? Developing business, either like users or enterprises that need our security, and kind of just selling our product and any other kind of working with investors, any other type of creative or business type project, I'm on it.
Yeah, I think I should add one more thing because I forgot it's not on my profile or anything, but you can add actually the role of podcaster onto my resume because I started a podcast. I'm going to plug it real quick. It's called The Captain Crypto Show, and it's kind of like Bitcoin for beginners. I'm only 4 episodes in. We're actually going to try to record our first roundtable discussion, and this guy is going to be one of my shipmates. So we'll see how it ends up, but hopefully we'll have some more content for you guys to chew on.
Yeah, I think Kylan's doing a great job because a lot of the crypto podcasts out there have been around for a while and are definitely geared towards people that have been in the space for a long time. So it's very hard for people to follow. And Kylan has kind of started a new project that is for people that are like, holy shit, what the hell is this? What are private keys? What's a blockchain? What are wallets? And not only what they are, but what to do, right? How to take action, what coins are scams, what are not, what you find. So they're pretty good listens, and hopefully I can help on the next episode.
Yeah, it turns out I'm really good at dumbing things down. I'm not quite sure if that's a good or bad thing.
It's a great thing.
But apparently I'm good at it.
It's awesome. It's a good thing because, again, there's some barrier to entry in the space, and understanding both the technical side and then some of the impact in the business and maybe some philosophical and economic side.
They all make it.
We're glad we got both of you guys. We get a little bit of the left brain and right brain, so appreciate that. We'll go ahead and get started. I'll read the first question, but if any of the executive board members want to step up, that'd be great too. So first question we have here today is, AirBitz is a security company and the wallet is its first product. What's the current product and what's coming up next?
Okay, so you asked what's the current product?
Well, if you want to assess why did AirBitz start with a wallet, it's your security company and
Okay, so basically the traditional model of securing data has basically been large companies, large institutions kind of gathering all our data and securing it. Kind of, you can think of it like a castle, right? Where all of our data is kind of stored there, and they make, really big moats, really big walls, really strong walls. And that's basically how all of our digital information is stored and secured. And the people that have the keys to our information are basically, working for some other organization. AirBitz kind of flips that model and puts the users in control and control of their own security, and we help them out. So Bitcoin is kind of the first, let's say, community use case where people are actually very concerned about their data and who holds it, right? Because now it's not just your personal information, but data is literally money. So when data is literally money, I guess the interest for security goes up. And Bitcoin was the first natural use case for that type of security, where the individual is actually in control of their money, their funds, and we don't know any information about them. So it's kind of a weird, AirBitz is kind of a weird mix of, we're not Silicon Valley and we're not Wall Street, where Silicon Valley, most of their business models are based off of gathering your information, storing it and selling it. And Wall Street is basically taking your money and loaning it out to other people. So we don't do either. Our business model is to secure your funds in a way that we don't know anything about you, and we don't want to know anything about you, and we don't loan out any of your money. So going forward into the future, we've seen, Bitcoin is kind of like a Pandora's box, right? So it kind of a new way to organize and create value has been kind of thrusted upon us. And now we have all these different types of blockchains and decentralized applications, right? So AirBitz kind of thinks of itself as a browser into this new universe, a secure browser into this universe that can authenticate you into different applications, different blockchains, and can secure not just Bitcoin, but any type of data. So this could be, Litecoin, Zcash, Ethereum, or, health records, right? Any type of data, our security model can be used for any type of data. And we've already proven it, that people can secure their own data and want to take hold of their own data with Bitcoin. And now as we move forward and we have Bitcoin and all these other networks, we're seeing a new decentralized ecosystem, and we need a new security model. And we have that security model, which is decentralized security at the edges. And going forward, we're going to have much more support of all these decentralized applications. And the devil's kind of in the details, but our architecture allows a lot of different networks to be a part of our offerings, and we can also offer our security to more and more projects that are, the ideas that are coming at us, they're coming at us from all over the place. People wanting our type of security, and we're trying to figure out exactly how to put it in. The devil's in the details, but yeah, we're pretty excited. Going forward, it's just going to be us securing a lot of different applications, different data for different people, and we're just looking to scale it.
Right. Yeah. I think as time goes on, we're finding that privacy is becoming a much more important issue as time goes forward. So when I first came in here, I saw AirBitz kind of as okay, we have a mobile wallet. But as I learned more about the organization, and when you think about it, okay, if the private keys really are what control the funds, what are the private keys? As Brett hinted at, they're just data. So ultimately, we're creating a platform where you can store really any sort of data that you want to keep encrypted, that you want to keep private. So we think a lot about private keys, but there are also other types of data that you would want to keep, that you want to keep private or encrypted, that you would want a lot of control over. So moving forward, we're not just thinking about cryptocurrency, but also those other sorts of applications where maybe you could have something where you have an AirBitz account, right? And it can have your private keys in that, your encrypted private keys in that account, but then you could use that same account for other applications. Let's say you're logging into some sort of hospital website and you only want your health records to be encrypted. You don't want them up in some hospital servers. You want to make sure that you can control when it's private, when it's encrypted and unencrypted. So it's definitely something where we're looking not just at cryptocurrency, but data as a whole.
Yeah, that was a pretty comprehensive answer.
That's really good.
Do you want to go on to the next question? Or?
Sure, if you want me to.
Yeah, you can say here.
Hi guys, I'm Robbie. I'm a freshman.
Hey, Robbie.
UL. Should we get into like the hard fork stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
So,
News coming.
a bunch of different things. Do you guys support Segwit 2x, or do you think that's the real Bitcoin? How is this fork going to compare to the last fork of Bitcoin Cash? Hold on, we have something on Bitcoin Gold here too.
Oh God.
Let's see. And also, do you think Bitcoin Gold with a different hashing algorithm will help it as a minority gain mining support?
All right, where do you want us to start off? And do you want us responding as AirBitz or as our personal?
Let's go.
It leads into everything. So just wherever you guys want to start, because it's all interconnected. So I know you guys.
I'll start off and I'll say that our company, we're focused on users, and we try not to take a political stance, right? Because this has really come down to like almost a religious type battle. I personally don't support the 2x chain. I'd rather the status quo kind of go on, and generally side towards core. But as a company, we don't have a let's just say a bias towards either one. And I mean, this thing is a live issue, and people are coming out, blog posts. We support this, or don't support that. We haven't done that yet. The fork isn't going to happen for another month or a little bit less. Our CEO is more in support of the 2x, which is kind of in line with a lot of other CEOs, and they have their own perspective. I think as younger people and a lot of people that are just holders, a little more ideological. And I personally side more towards the core, but the 2x people have their points. I am concerned over the last couple days of the actions of the people on the 2x side. But as a company, we don't support or root for any other side. We're trying to keep all our users happy, and we definitely support a multi-chain world. And we also have the long view. We're in this for the long haul, and it's going to take a long time. Like, we're trying to build a whole new financial system from scratch. So it's going to take a long time. Like, this is just the first inning. You can imagine, the financial infrastructure you guys have all been using has been developed over hundreds of years, right? So onboarding other people to a new one and figuring out all the definitions of what is Bitcoin and what is not Bitcoin is going to take some time. And then Kylan can talk more about Bitcoin Gold and his own personal views on the forks, but AirBitz itself doesn't support one side or the other.
Yeah, I'm trying to think where I want to start. I guess for me personally with Segwit 2x, I guess it's supposed to have a lot of support from the miners. I know their New York agreement was signed at a time when something like Bitcoin Cash wasn't around. So I kind of feel, I used to be a bit of a big blocker, but now that you have Bitcoin Cash, it's almost like if you want bigger blocks, there's already a different cryptocurrency for that. And in the past, I have not liked Bitcoin Core. A lot of people say, they question, I guess, their integrity or their character. But ultimately, when you look at it, Bitcoin's been around for several years, and Bitcoin Core, those guys have done a pretty good job of keeping it alive and healthy. So I think it's something where we'll see as it gets closer to the actual fork, whether some of the miners are going to start to peel off. But I kind of get this vibe that if none of the users want to use the SegWit2x coin, that'll cause the price to plummet, and that means these miners are going to be mining a coin that is not going to be as profitable. So I wouldn't be surprised, at least in my opinion, if you see some of the miners start to peel off either close to the fork or immediately after the fork. But things can change a lot before then and now. Now, with regards to the Bitcoin Gold, I do have to comment on that one because there's so many things I have to say about it. For starters, they say they want to change the hashing algorithm to make it more decentralized. And okay, that sounds good on paper, but ultimately, as someone who's more technical, I think that's a bit pie in the sky. The way that the economies work in general is over time, they find a way to use economies of scale to specialize and to gain an advantage over your average person with their laptop. So I think this idea that you're going to be able to keep things decentralized in the long term is kind of ludicrous. And what happens? Let's say it starts to get centralized again. Then what? Are they going to change the hashing algorithm and fork again? Like I think that's kind of ridiculous. So I think the market is kind of spoken on Bitcoin Gold. I don't know how much it's going for. It's really low. And there's a lot of other technical issues. Like they didn't have replay protection implemented at the time of the fork. And there's also, I'm trying to think, Bitcoin Gold.
There's also claims of pre-mine. I don't know if you.
Oh yeah, no. It sounds like there was pre-mine. So this, just in general, when I think of what I want in a cryptocurrency, Bitcoin Gold does not seem to have very much of it. I think the price reflects that, right?
Yeah. And I think me and Kylan are generally pro-fork. So forking is a feature. It's not a bug. So that it does create confusion, but it also allows for multiple, let's say, these live economic experiments, right? We have all these nerds and engineers that are arguing over block size and what's going to make things more centralized or decentralized. Well, I mean, now you can really put your money where your mouth is if you're a developer or have a different, or your community thinks they can deliver a better user experience or coin or whatever, and you want to have a different monetary policy. I really like I'm a huge Bitcoin fan. I think that is the coin. Of all, but I'm also a huge fan of the other coin. I don't necessarily own a lot of the other alts, but I love that people are experimenting and getting really deep into the technical details and the philosophical values of these different projects. And whatever, I welcome any attack on Bitcoin there possibly could be, because if it claims to be what it is, it should be able to defend itself, regroup, and
you get more confidence
and run. Yeah.
If you go through an attack and you come out stronger on the other side, investors see that, the rest of the community sees that, so that can cause price increases as long as they're able to get through it. One thing I want to bring up, and I don't know if I should ask this, but how many of you guys are actually holding some cryptocurrency? I don't care if it's $50, $100. Okay, good. So one thing a lot of people were saying for this Bitcoin Gold fork was they were saying, oh, hey, the Bitcoin Cash fork, I ended up getting these free Bitcoin Cash coins, right? So a lot of people were buying Bitcoin saying, hey, well, we'll get some free coins again. So if you had, let's say, obviously to make things easy, $6,000 or so in Bitcoin, if you had taken your other cryptocurrencies and bought into Bitcoin just to get the Bitcoin Gold, you ended up with what, like $100, $150? So to be moving money around, going through fees and the margins on exchanges, taking the risk of putting things on exchanges for a measly $150, I think I would hope this would put a little bit of a damper on some of the people who think that every coin fork is an opportunity to get free money. And the people that said Bitcoin Cash was free money, like, that's not the full story. That whole scaling debate for a good year or year and a half had hampered the price growth of Bitcoin. So for someone to say it was free money is to completely ignore that year and a half period beforehand.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm Antonio.
Hey, Antonio.
How's it going, Antonio?
Doing well, thank you. I got here the next question. Do you guys believe that users should store their crypto assets in on an online wallet like AirBitz, or they should use offline wallets like a paper wallet or Nano Ledger?
Okay, I hold a lot of money in AirBitz personally because I know the architecture so well, and I really feel comfortable with it. And also, mobile phones are a lot more secure than desktops, which a lot of people don't understand that. And also, looking at the history of Bitcoin and the losses of Bitcoin, the two most prevalent are leaving coins on exchanges. So that's one of the biggest losses. And then just user error. So if you are handling private keys on your own, like with a paper wallet, if you're not used to handling cryptographic keys, and you don't trust yourself, it's usually you want to find a good medium where you are ultimately in control of your keys, but also you have some software to help you out and some support on the other end that you can kind of rely on. And also a general rule as in decentralizing your holdings and decentralizing the way you secure it. So I also have hardware wallets. So I'd recommend that, and a good mobile wallet is good. And then having things offline and in some type of device, some type of secure device is pretty good, and spreading those holdings out. You're generally going to be okay. But I would stay away from the extremes of letting someone be the sole custodian and control of your coins and leaving yourself all on your own, right? Like unless you're an expert in cryptography and know exactly what you're doing, trying to find that sweet spot is what you want to do, and that's what AirBitz works towards. So leaving the user in control of their keys, but also you don't have to actually encrypt your keys or back it up or sync it between devices. We're software that does it for you without us having actual control. But Kylan might have something to add.
Yeah, no. So I think for starters, you have to acknowledge that different people have different preferences, and that they have different needs. As time has gone on, I have come to trust the AirBitz wallet. I store almost, I don't want to give away too much detail, right?
Oh, have them test it. They can have them test it.
Yeah, no,
try to hack that.
I essentially keep almost all my Bitcoin in my AirBitz wallet. I'm trying to think here. If you don't mind me asking again, I'm polling you guys again, but how many of you guys have actually downloaded or used the AirBitz wallet? Okay, that's pretty good. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the way that we approach security, I think is pretty reasonable. We make sure, and I don't know if you guys have seen the prompt, but we kind of ask you, hey, by the way, do you remember your password? Because that really is one of the biggest things that will prevent someone, or that'll cause someone to lose their private keys. So aside from that, the only other real risk, as long as you have a good password and a good PIN, then the only other real risk is data corruption, and that is a real threat. But the way that we have things at AirBitz here is we have what you call a rolling backup, right? So we back it up once a day, once a week, once a month, and then another one that's like once a year, and then I think we have another one that has just backed up everything at some point. So, as long as first of all, the chance of data getting corrupted is usually pretty low. But if it does happen, like we do have backups, multiple backups, so you'll probably be fine. Now, with that said, as time has gone on, I do like hardware wallets, but as time has gone on, I've actually become more and more of a fan of paper wallets. I guess the one big concern with paper wallets is if you literally have it in paper, if your apartment gets burned down or your house gets burned down, then usually that paper wallet will go with it. So it sounds like I'm maybe a little paranoid, and it's maybe just because I'm kind of a privacy advocate too. Hypothetically, you can get. Sorry, I'm here live. Hypothetically, your private keys, like engraved actually on something that actually wouldn't burn, something that wouldn't melt. That might seem like an extreme to some people, but it's doable. If you have enough money on the line, then how much you take security seriously will kind of be proportional to how much money's on the line.
Yeah, I would spread money out, to keep control of your keys, and fucking pay attention.
Yeah.
Right, there's real money on the line, and like it's not like your bank account with all that money's made up. The reason why you can never lose it because it's not really there.
Yeah.
Right. This is real stuff. Right.
Yeah,
this is
a
a real key.
You have control of it, but you also have the ability to screw it up. Right. So that's the double-edged sword of having more control. Right.
Yeah, and like if you're worried about hacked phones are a distant third to user error and. But yeah, try a lot of different options out, see what works for you, and try to find that sweet spot that works for you.
Yeah, I was just gonna make something sure here for our audience. So as long as we hold, for example, 10 Bitcoins in our AirBitz wallet, as long as we keep our private keys, and for example, my phone gets erased, I always will have my coins, correct?
Yeah, as long as you remember your password. It also helps in the beginning when you start an account. I believe it gives you like a what does it give you? It's like not a phrase. It's like a token or something.
Okay.
Right. Well, they give you in the beginning. So pay attention when you first start the account to pay attention to the dialogue that we give you. And when we tell you to write something down, you should probably write it down. As long as you take security seriously when you download and install our app and set up an account, like you'll be taken care of. We have your private keys backed up, but obviously they're encrypted. We don't want anyone's private keys unencrypted. So all you have to do is once you're on the new phone, just install AirBitz. As long as you remember your username and password, you're pretty much good to go. So.
Yeah, and if you lose your phone, all you have to do, which has happened to me, I've lost my phone, and all you have to do is get a new phone, download the app, and you put your username and password, and all your funds are there.
Yeah, I guess I should also add too, as far as like technical support is concerned, I think we might have the best customer support in the industry, at least that I've encountered. Like we have multiple people who work full time to work with users who are having issues. So we are aware of any of the issues that could happen, and early on, we've already ironed out any of those real major issues. When people come to us and they've lost funds, I haven't encountered an instance where it was something that was our fault and we were not able to recover the funds. It almost certainly is. That's almost always user error. But in general, when you use the AirBitz wallet, you can at least know that you have someone who will be there to listen to you and help walk you through whatever the issue is that you're going through.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Antonio.
Oh, you have a question?
Yes.
One more question here.
Hi. So as someone that's looking into starting a business around the crypto space, I've been thinking a lot about the business model, and I was sort of curious about what AirBitz's business model is, if that's something that you can tell us about, and also what the edge, what the edge product is providing to other companies as well in the space.
Okay, so we basically have 3 revenue.
There's a little bit of an echo.
You can hear? It's muted on our end. It's muted? No, we should mute it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. They're gonna mute it when. Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Okay.
Nice. Okay. So we have 3 different. Oh, we can't hear them though.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But once we're done talking, then they'll.
Gotcha. So we have three lines of revenue, or I guess 3 lines of business. First is the wallet itself, which is for users, and we get revenue through our plugins. So we have 3 different exchanges on our in our wallet that users can kind of link their bank account to. We don't. It's not us doing it. We kind of you can think of us as a browser to other services in the industry. So something like Glidera is an exchange out of the U.S. So U.S. customers can link their bank account, switch from crypto to fiat and back and forth, right? And we get a fee from that. And then, we have one with Biddy, which is a European exchange. And then there's other, we have a gift card integration with a company called Fold. And then, what is it called? And then another one with Bit Refill, which is mobile top-up. So anytime there's a transaction there, we get a little fee. And then we also license a lot of the ATM networks actually have their own wallets that they use, and they basically white label our wallet. So we package up our wallet, reskin it with their logo, and it's basically an AirBitz wallet, but it has their logo on it, and they can give customer support over a wallet that they know, right? Because some of the problems with ATMs is like their customers are using there's 12 different wallets that they're using. It's hard to do customer support. So wallet or ATM operators like to have like one wallet that they can really understand and pin down, and they have another extra layer of support. So we get paid from those and some of the fees that on the ATMs. And then the third one is more on the enterprise side, and I guess what you call dApps. So we basically packaged up what makes the AirBitz wallet special, right? There's different technologies that are packaged up in there. Package it up in an SDK, a software development kit for those that don't know, and basically other developers can use those tools and kind of plug them into their applications. So, and these applications are basically like Web 3.0 applications where you don't have Facebook, you don't have a Facebook centralized, company, centralized servers like a Facebook where everyone, logs on and just this one entity kind of controls everything. There are decentralized applications like Augur. I think a lot of people have heard about that project, which is a prediction market based on the Ethereum blockchain. A lot of word soup there, but basically we're able to act as the developers have integrated our SDK, and basically we are able to act as a authentication mechanism, so a login, right? Just like how you log into AirBitz, you can log into this decentralized app where they don't know anything about you, but you can still log in, and a private key management for the tokens on that platform, right? So they log in and all their tokens are kind of right there. And if something happens, their computer doesn't matter. Kind of the same rules apply. They can log in anywhere that they can, download a Augur client on, and they can easily, authenticate, privately, and have all of their value there. So that's how people are using us right now. And there's a couple other dApps out there like Wings, Open Ledger, which are still, all this stuff that I'm throwing out there is very new. Like the engineers are still building, working out bugs and stuff like that. But what you're going to see is a new type of internet where there is no central entity controlling applications, and you're going to be able to log in without them knowing anything about you, and you're going to have tokens on there, right, that you can use to exchange, right? And we kind of we're hyper focused on that user experience. So there's a lot of new shiny ICOs out there and tokens and blockchains. We're focused on like something that a lot of other people are focused on, but is really important. Just making this shit usable, right? And making sure people secure their private keys, right? Like handling private keys is not something that the average user is used to. No one really expects them to, right? It's our job to make it usable and good and better than the other services that we're using. So we're really focused on getting people, basically logging them into these decentralized applications and providing private key management for them. So basically the 3 lines of business to summarize that are the wallet itself, the transactions on there, buying and selling, and then you have white label wallets that basically use our wallet and put their logo on it, and then dApps, developers that need some type of login key management solution without them holding any of the keys or authentication material. We've already basically built out, a software package that they can easily put into their app, right? And that's what we do. And moving forward, we're going to continue doing that and trying to expand into non-dApp businesses, which are still very far behind, right? Like they're still like, what is blockchain, right? We're like, we're like 10 years ahead. So we're still trying to communicate with them. And then we're going to have, more token support in our wallet. And we'll have announcements on that pretty soon because we've just been in Bitcoin, but, obviously the space has exploded and our customers want more coins. So that's what we're going to provide.
Well, just to
verify. Yeah, how are we doing on time, Brett and Kylan?
We're pretty good.
Okay.
All right, perfect. So these applications that use the SDK, they're able to know that somebody that signs in with the AirBitz wallet is different from somebody else that signs in, right? That's
yeah, there would be. Are you asking that they would? Are you asking? Can you clarify that question a little bit?
like, is it a way to identify different users? So, for example, if Joel wants to sign in and signs in through the Edge sign-in, and I also sign in on the same platform, is the company able to tell the difference between me and Joel? Like distinct entities?
Yes, because two different accounts, but they don't know they don't know anything about you, and we don't know anything about you, right? The only thing, yeah. There's nothing to know. You don't have to give up any email or identification. There's no ID to give up. So there'd be two different accounts, and you have your coins associated with your accounts and all your metadata and whatever. So yeah, it would authenticate two completely different users.
So are you asking whether or not they'll be able to tell whether account is coming from an AirBitz account or one of their regular accounts?
It was basically just a differentiation between
two different accounts, right? Just like you log into, you can think of us as an anti-Facebook login. So people put like a button, that you put for Facebook, and basically all that information trails with you. Like you put the difference, you put that AirBitz button, all it does is log you in with your username and password. And we don't have an email, we don't know what pictures you liked. Yeah,
right.
Perfect. I have a question if you guys don't have one. Yeah, go ahead. I have a question for Kylan. So, Kylan, you were a web developer in other firms, and
right.
You're in this really disruptive space. Has your skill set or kind of your role shifted since you got into AirBitz? Have you done a little bit more back end? Can you talk about that?
Right. So in general, I came in here as a front end developer. I still do front end, but definitely I used to do, I was a web developer. So mostly I was doing web pages, right, or web applications. So when I came in here, we were using React, and what they want to do is they want to create mobile applications with React Native. So technically, even though I'm still using JavaScript, it's mobile development now. With that said, there are absolutely opportunities to move around. Now, you have to be careful with backend, because the way that things work here, our backend is minimal. Like, we do have servers, we do have a database, but there isn't a lot of development that gets done on that portion, like on the server. But what there is, since everything's stored locally, most of the application occurs on your mobile phone. Right, so that's JavaScript as well. So I don't know whether you call that front end or back end, but a lot of that stuff is you're talking about working with accounts, working with what's the term I'm looking for? Working with some of the cryptographic functions of some of the cryptocurrency libraries. So the one thing I will say is I've been in web development, or I guess I should say development or software engineering for I think about 5 years now. There is absolutely an opportunity to move more towards some of the cryptographic or lower level languages, but within our organization, I'll be honest, I'm not at the point where I'm comfortable writing the stuff that people are gonna put their money, in, right? So when the time comes, I've started to transition a little bit. Like I'm starting to read more on C++, maybe even a little bit more on what they call abstract algebra. So it's some of the, how would I say it? It's like a precursor to cryptography. But those are probably things that are, for me at least, like a couple years, if not more, away. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of, we're a startup, so there's a lot of opportunity to move around. But front end is definitely what I'm most comfortable with, especially when there's money on the line. I'll leave that stuff to the pros.
Appreciate you answering that.
I have a follow-up question kind of on the mining aspect of the fork that you were talking about before. like with Bitcoin Cash, we kind of saw all the miners just flock once the difficulty fell, and then it just, you know, screwed up the price, you know, so much with Bitcoin Cash. If you're kind of thinking that the miner is going to go back to Bitcoin Core when the fork happens, so like if we can get the miners and the users on the same page, I think Bitcoin would, you know, flourish in that kind of environment. Do you agree, or do you not really see the same thing happening? Like,
you know, it's for the record, I don't do any mining myself. I have done some research on it. I would really have to think about it. But in general, since a lot of the miners, okay, if SegWit2x doesn't get a lot of people, how do I say this? If SegWit2x doesn't get like people like Coinbase or the users using it, then that will cause demand to go down. And when demand goes down, that means that if the miners are mining that, and a lot of times they can't always hold for very long because they have electricity costs and stuff like that. So if it's something where they're mining something that they're not able to get much value out of what they're mining, then I would think they would jump ship. Now, sometimes I haven't, and I'll be fully honest, I haven't paid super close attention to the details of SegWit2x. Like Bitcoin Cash, like you said, they were adjusting their difficulty levels, I think, fairly often from what I remember. And it was like you said, it was causing all sorts of ups and downs. With SegWit2x, I haven't looked closely into it, so I can't comment too much. The one thing I will say, though, is if SegWit2x is able, okay, you have the issue of which one's Bitcoin, which one's not. But if the SegWit2x fork takes a good amount of hashing power with it, then that could cause some pretty serious issues for the Bitcoin Core chain, because at that point, then you're talking about confirmation times increasing by a lot. So it's already 10 minutes, which is kind of a lot for cryptocurrency. If it's something where, you know, it starts going up to 20 minutes or 30 minutes, then that could cause serious issues for Bitcoin Core. So yeah, I would definitely agree. I think one is going to win out in the end. I'm trying to think if, as we get closer, if some of the miners might start to jump ship on SegWit2x. But yeah, if you can get the miners and the users and the companies that are developing, so something like Coinbase as well, if you can get those sorts of organizations all on the same page, then yeah, that'd be great. But yes, right now we're still, I'm not going to call it early, but people are still switching back and forth. So it's really hard to tell what's going to happen. And there might be some people that will hold out till the very end because they want to, I don't know, it's for image reasons or whatever. So this one is definitely a very contentious fork, and I'm not sure that anyone knows exactly how it'll go. But sometimes that's half the fun.
Yeah. Piggybacking off of that, I think the best thing to do is not necessarily think about what's going to win out. No one fucking knows, right? No one knows. Like there really is no, and I've heard people, there's really no Bitcoin expert, right? It's everyone kind of learning, and there's other people that are ahead or behind other people in terms of their expertise. The best thing that you can do to prepare for the fork is get deep into the conversation and learning about all this stuff, because it's going to open up a lot of, you know, interesting ideas and debates, and you'll just learn more about, and honestly, the greatest dividend of Bitcoin is learning about it. You learn how money works, you know, distributed systems, cryptography, right? All that's kind of baked into an ongoing discussion, and then you get human nature, which is the ultimate wild card, right? Because right now we just basically have, you know, kids on a playground arguing with each other, right? But it's at a very high intellectual level, right? In a big game of chicken going on, and no one really knows what's going to happen. Specifically, especially over a very short amount of time. But like me and Kylan and many others in the space, and people that have put even more time and effort in the space, it isn't going away. It's going to keep evolving. These things will play out over time, and it'll be, you know, we'll see Darwinian survival of the fittest kind of really come into play. And so I have really no idea how to play it other than, you know, hodl your coins. Right, just hold on to them, hold on to your keys, and learn more. Like you know, it's hard for me to keep up with all, and you know, I've been in the space, I work in it a lot. Kylan works in it a lot. It's hard for him to keep up. if you feel overwhelmed, that's good. Like that means you're pushing yourself. And trust me, even the people that are arguing on there, even if they seem so sure, you know, they don't know until it happens. So I would, you know, continue to keep reading, read all the buzz, get the, you know, the details down, and you'll start, you know, learning about the block size debate and more of the history. What did Satoshi actually say? Should we be listening to Satoshi? Is that what he meant, right? Who's Jeff Garzik?
Which one is Bitcoin?
Yeah,
right?
which one is
that's
Bitcoin? How do you define it, right? That's going to take some time. I mean, even any new word that comes into a language, it takes time for it to kind of percolate through society, and even the people that come up with it, what does it actually mean, and how is it used, right? So you guys are seeing this experiment happen in live, live right before your eyes, and you guys are young. We're both young, and we're learning every day. So
grab your popcorn.
Yeah. So you guys are in the right space, and just keep doing what you're doing. You'll end up. I mean, you don't know where you'll end up. I'm in fucking San Diego at a Bitcoin startup. I was in investment banking in New York and Houston. And now I've completely jumped ship. And for all the problems that are happening in this space, I mean, the other system is let's just say
we know where that one's heading.
Just a hall of mirrors. But anyway, any other questions on any tokens or ICOs or shitcoins?
What do you say?
Oh no.
No, we can ask something about ICOs. You want to
Ruble coin, like Russia? That is what I would ask about.
I mean, I just have a question, and I'll come up. So I am looking at obviously all the ICOs and the regulations coming after it, and there's a lot of shit coins. Even the coins that are not shit coins, I mean, they're still all in beta. So how do we know when the betas are going to be used? They're going to have usability, and by the time they do go live, will the investors be, angry? Will they want their money? What's going to happen?
Yeah, the ultimate answer is you don't know, right? With at least with cryptocurrency, you know how many are being made, you know all the different variables in there. You don't have to really trust someone because the code does its own thing. There's cryptography to ensure that things happen. With ICOs, yeah, you're trusting the developers, the company behind it. And that's the reason why, for the most part, I hold plenty of cryptocurrencies, but when it comes to ICOs, I really don't own any. Even if you trust somebody, if that's something because they say they're going to build a product, the second you give that person $100 million, do you think they're going to want to work overtime to work on your project? There's a certain amount of human nature here. And I think, obviously we had the craze for ICOs in like May and a little bit of June as well. I think you're definitely seeing it start to cool down now. There are kind of murmurings that the SEC might be cracking down on ICOs soon. Kind of like, I'm sure it wouldn't be as hard as China did it, but I've talked to some attorneys who think that's coming down the line. You saw what happened with Tezos this last week, where now there's class action lawsuits being thrown around. And like you said, a lot of these ICOs only have something like a white paper, or they don't have any product. Of all the ICOs that I've seen, and I've obviously seen dozens, if not hundreds, there's really only like a couple that I would think, well, okay, that's a good idea, and these guys seem legit. But even those guys, for the most part, they're usually like 6 months, 12 months, 2 years away from actually having a product. So many things can change between now and then that it's just kind of like, it's crazy. It's a very risky investment, and essentially at the end of the day, you're trusting someone, and most of these people you've never met in person. So even if you think you know them, you don't.
Yeah. I think the only, I'm not a big fan, but I'm a fan that it's possible. And the silver lining is these are kind of like science experiments, and people are, I'm all for people betting on things and trying to fund new ideas, because I don't know if these things are going to work out or not. I have no idea. And a lot of the people have put a lot of thought into them. And, there's going to be a few that are like, blockbuster, Google type, enterprises that kind of combine a lot of different things that are going on in a really useful way. It's hard to tell right now, but I like that it's opening up and it's really disrupting the VC space, which is probably the biggest silver lining, and kind of opening up venture capital to whole new pools of capital all over the world. And you don't have this much of I guess an old boys network, but you also get more junk, right? Like that's just part of the Wild West. But I kind of view them as economic science experiments, and like most science experiments, their hypotheses will fail, right? Like it's very hard to come up with a breakthrough.
Yeah, I think in general, I talk a little smack on the ICOs, but the stuff that's going on in Ethereum, it really is fascinating, and there are excellent applications for ways to use the platform. When it comes to ICOs, I think I've noticed that there's a bit of a, I don't know what you call it, things ebb and they float. When a bunch of money comes in and people see these great ICO investments, so they start throwing money at it, and then the scammers see that, and then they come in and start creating their ICOs. And that, that eventually will scare some people off, so then you'll get less. So it's kind of this, up and down sort of thing, and hopefully we find some sort of equilibrium at some point. But that'll only be after plenty of fools have been parted with their money, right?
Yeah.
Sure. And by the way, guys, feel free to cut us off at any moment. I mean, we love having guests here and getting to probe, because otherwise it's just us sharing information. So
yeah, we got one more question and we'll get back to work.
One more question.
Okay. So yeah, we definitely talked about how there's a lot of junk out there and it's hard to sift through it all. And there's also some allegations about censorship on social media platforms like Reddit around the topic. So I'm just sort of wondering, where do you guys go to learn about all this stuff, and if you think that those allegations of censorship are legitimate, or if or just where you go to find objective information, I guess.
Yeah, I'll start off with that. My primary tool is Twitter. I think that's where the most activity is, and I don't subscribe to any of the I guess the crypto news or I don't have a preference for one or the other. I think they all kind of, some have junk and some have more junk than others, but there's some good pieces out there. But I follow individual people and kind of keep track of the conversation. I think a lot of the great actions on Twitter, some really great conversations between really smart people, developers, philosophers, economists, crypto economists, self-proclaimed thought leaders and stuff like that. But Twitter is really my main tool, and that's where most of the shit goes down. As for, I think, the censorship stuff, I think it's just people being little bitches. Okay, it's the internet. One place they're censoring. I don't There's plenty of forums to get your voice out. And is it I'm not for censorship either. It's just I don't.
It's like they're fighting over the Bitcoin name again, just in another space, right? It's when they want the Bitcoin subreddit rather than the BTC.
Yeah, it's like 30, 40-year-old technologists, acting like little babies, right? Just the same dynamics on the playground or playing out in crypto or politics or whatever, right? Same human fundamentals. The censorship stuff, it's probably true, right? I'm sure there's screenshots, right, of this or that, but and everyone wants, so if someone's censoring you, get off of that forum, go on another one.
Yeah, in general, I'd say try to diversify a little bit when it comes to where you're getting your information. At first I didn't like Twitter, a few years ago. I didn't really get it, but as time has gone on, when you see, like he said, it's very active. You can get things up to the minute. You can use hashtags to search for whatever topic you're looking for, and you can follow people pretty easily. What I've also found with Twitter is if there are people that you specifically, I wouldn't say look up to, but you follow, even if they're pretty well known, a lot of times, since everything's kept short, if you mention them in a tweet, a lot of the times you'll actually get an answer. Even if this is someone who's pretty well known, I'm not gonna say famous, but even if it's an important person, a lot of times they will give you the time of day, which I really like. I do go on Reddit a lot. I'm on a ton of subreddits. Essentially, if I like a currency, I'll join that subreddit, and then I'll also join the trading investment version of it. Also, I listen to podcasts a lot, so I know there's one called like Analysis and Chains is a good one. The Crypto Show is good, although I don't know if they have the most technical know-how in the world. They ask a lot of softball questions, but they are entertaining. The Crypto Show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we actually our people from our company are actually on that show every so often. But one thing I found that over time, I guess I kind of figure out which individuals in the space I trust. Now, obviously, individuals are fallible, so you do have to keep that in the back of your mind. But some people speak with integrity. They do actions with integrity, right? So those people I tend to give more sway than others. With regard to the Reddit stuff, it's come to the point. At first, I liked the BTC subreddit, but now they've almost become, they have their own issues now. So you don't really get any balanced news about Bitcoin from either of those subreddits, in my opinion. And it's kind of sad because every time you go into one of those subreddits, they're just hammering the other side. So you definitely have to diversify, take in as much information as you can, and also you guys are good because you're at a meetup. Our meetups are excellent as well. It's a good place to actually talk with people in person, because you can in person you can get a better vibe for whether you can judge their character a lot more easily in person. We'll put it that way.
There's a lot of information you get from in-person interactions that you can't get on the internet. And I guess to give one recommendation as someone to follow, the best one, I think it's universally, I don't think it's like, recommending some people might, someone might disagree, but I think it's universally agreed upon that Andreas Antonopoulos does a fantastic job and stays kind of out of endorsing things and can go to every level of analysis, where he can kind of get to the micro level of programming, right, and kind of get to the kind of pie in the sky, what's going on from a macro level, better than anyone else that I've seen, and a lot of developers kind of agree with me. And he puts up great content and has written basically the textbook for Bitcoin, which is Mastering Bitcoin, which I've gone through. And everyone at every conference knows him and respects him. Kylan might have something.
I think he already knows what I'm going to say. No, I do like Andreas, but the one guy that I kind of take the most seriously, which is ironic considering he's a bit of a troll, is if any of you guys are Monero fans, the guy that's kind of in charge, not in charge, but Fluffy Pony, he has a good sense of humor and he has a lot of technical know-how. And in general, I like his vision of what he's trying to build. So I've come to trust a lot of what he says. Not that he gets everything right all the time, but he has been pretty consistent in my opinion.
Yeah, that's an excellent. I like Fluffy Pony a lot too. He's got a great sense of humor, and he really understands crypto, and he tells people not to buy Monero, which is very refreshing. He actually tells people not to buy it, especially people that don't understand it. And that's part of his personality, where, and a lot of other cryptos are just trying to pump it and tell you everything's great. And, he talks about how it's a work in progress, right? They're still developing. If you don't understand it, don't buy it. But I'd say if you follow two people, Andreas Antonopoulos and Fluffy Pony from Monero, you're going to have.
And Brett Maverick and Captain Crypto.
Yeah, you'll have some pretty good information, and you'll realize how little you know and how little everyone else knows.
Yeah, you'll also notice on Reddit, you'll get different vibes from different communities. So if you go to BTC or Bitcoin, there's a lot of back and forth complaining. You go to Litecoin, you get people who are pretty optimistic and pretty level-headed.
Yeah.
You go to Ethereum, you get people who are just looking at money, like money, right? And then if you go to like something like Monero, there's a little bit more of like a jokey feel to it. Like there's a good vision, but we're also having a good time. So I think as time goes on, you can, to a certain extent, you can judge a cryptocurrency by the community that it has.
Definitely. It's like a meta personality that they kind of develop. But anyways, thanks for having us, guys.
Hey, yeah, you guys
sign up.
Hey, one more thing I wanted to mention, man. You guys are probably young if you're in college. If you're at a Bitcoin cryptocurrency meetup, you guys are already light years ahead of your peers. If you guys stay at it, if you guys keep on paying attention, if you keep on asking questions, this industry it's in it for the long haul, and I think it'll prosper for a very long time. If you guys are getting in as early as you are, this industry will treat you guys very well. So keep up the good work.
All right, guys.
Brett, Kylan, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it. I mean, AirBitz has been our #1 sponsor, and we keep promoting your wallet. And thanks for your time. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, we have some big announcements.
How do we do it?
Yeah, just